All right, let me make this a little bigger here. I'm gonna cover so for all of you out there that are watching this, right? I'm gonna cover content. I'm gonna try to be very explicit about what you'll be able to find within Disciplined Agile content from a PMI perspective. And then I'm also going to be covering some content that is the intellectual property of my consulting company. It's we saw last year there were some of these like Scrum expansion packs, I think they were called. So I kind of think of it like that. It's things that maybe PMI will work in as, the work that I've done with them to work into it a little bit more. But I'll try to be clear with that. So what I'm showing you here to just kind of begin with, and this is the typical starting point from a conversation about sort of pitching DA at an organization. If they've got some interest in it, somebody's, got some cursory knowledge of DA. And this is the latest version of this end-to-end flow perspective. And there is
let me just jump in here, and I have to smile because one of the things that PMI and similar organizations do is to create simplicity of a complex subject is we like to put it into a approximate time frame, and we like to segment it, which is kind of also an agile approach, right? And we like to call it a life cycle, which gives, this is what I was talking about, that kind of visualization where people can kind of look at it and then kind of through the visualization understand, hey, this is the process.
Yeah. And what this is intended to be able to show, and this is going to be at least somewhat common for most organizations, is that if you've got this space here, right? So you've got an idea, you've got a request, you've got, again, something that you want to do next. How does that go from this to being something that's consumable value, whether it's, new revenue, it's just improving the customer experience. It's again, value from a compliance perspective. Let me get the kind of the zoom correct. Yeah. So what we're trying to take a look at is this area is what does this go through? And if we go through most organizations again that have like this annual budgeting and planning event, right? We could kind of map that out. What this is showing is that if we use a similar approach to what we found that works very effectively from a team agile perspective in this space, right? Then what we're doing is we're able to build a backlog that we're able to manage of these investment decisions and have a lot of flexibility from what are we going to be doing next? And if we're always focused on doing sort of the smallest thing we can do that provides value, sort of that minimum, then again, we've got opportunities to make changes as we're seeing the work flow through. So we look at portfolio management, we look at product management, and we look at the discovery workflow. So think about it like this. And let me go ahead and move to
before you go on. Can you go back, because I'm smiling a little bit because I love the stuff that happens before the idea, because I think that's one of the things that's often overlooked in organizations. An organization cannot be agile if only the operational team is agile. So there needs to be an understanding of responsibility and rolemanship, okay? What do I as an executive have to do on an organizational level? How do I create enterprise agility before I get to the more formal form of portfolio management? Are you going to cover that at a later stage, or do you want to say something about that now?
Yeah, so I am. So I'll tell you what. Let me do this. Let me just high level cover this.
Sure, great.
And then I'm going to show you once this is. So we're still kind of talking about introducing this to an organization, talking with some of the decision makers to get them to understand this relatively quickly. So what this does is it shows that we've got a way to be able to bring ideas and requests much more efficiently into the work stream. We've got the things that we would want to be doing in the near term. And from a near term perspective, now we're looking at things that maybe we're going to be doing like a quarterly value delivery planning event. Like we've got some work that's in process. We've got some capacity that's going to be freeing up. What are the next things that we can do? And that's a big part of value stream management, is taking a look at these are the things we want to do, but we have to have the capacity to do that. If this thing is the most important thing or most valuable thing we feel we can do, but we don't have the people that, and all the people that can get the work done so that we can release and get something that's, again, consumable. Well, should we look to the next most valuable thing or the next most valuable thing until we can match that capacity up? Otherwise, we have growing levels of WIP, and now it's taking longer to get anything done. We have an intake queue. So this is sort of like if we were looking at team level Agile and we're looking at going, we have a product backlog and we're going to go through like sprint planning or iteration planning. What we're looking at is the top part of that backlog are the candidates that we're potentially going to commit to doing in that next time period. It's the same thing here, just at a higher level. This holding area, this intake management, is the top part of our portfolio backlog that meets a definition of ready. We've got adequate understanding, and we're ready to then, again, go through planning and then bring it through the rest of this. Now, showing this is one component. Another one, and I'm going to go to over here, and I am going to...
This is a small document.
Yeah, I'm going to zoom in. So these are all different visual diagnostics, and I just need to make sure I've got I'm going to have to open a couple of these boards up because I'm going to kind of go back and forth. So you'll have to edit some of this out. I've got to open a couple of boards up, and maybe I'll start with this one. Yeah, no. So Mark, just so you know, what I'm showing, like all of these different boards, right? So these all are techniques to be able to, for instance, this is identifying drag, and it's looking at things like push
and
work, hidden work.
These would be some of the tools that you refer to in the database or in the compendium of what PMI's Disciplined Agile ultimately also offers its members, right?
They could. This right here is all of this is all of the content of what I call end-to-end flow. So this is all of the content. The graphic that I was showing, that particular graphic has been introduced to the new DA leadership course. But I'm looking for one board in particular, and I probably am not in the right area. So just give me 1 second and then we can kind of pick back up. I just need to get these boards open. And okay, what I'll do is I'll start with this. Okay, so you ready to kind of pick back up? And so some of the conversations then with executives, and this would be done at a high level, but I am showing that this is one of the assessment tools that we have. This is called end-to-end value flow. And there's instructions. I mean, this is all, a little bit of training, but what we're looking to do, and this is something that originally was part of the Disciplined Agile Value Stream Consultant certification course from PMI, is being able to take a look at some of the competencies. Now, there's a lot on here, and this is some of the discovery we would be doing with executives to say, take some of this stuff off. But ultimately, what we're trying to do is we're trying to get people involved with being able to go through and use identifiers, right? That, we're doing this really well. We do it, but we don't do it very good, or we've never done this, or we stopped doing it.
The KISS approach, right? Keep, increase, start, stop, kind of a little bit too.
Yeah, exactly. So it might be having them take a look at this. It might be going to something we call your biggest pain points, which this particular template, which I'm just going to zoom in on a little bit, the instructions here, is one of the most effective tools for identifying pain points and getting some additional information that I've used. This was one that is part of the Disciplined Agile Foundations and the Disciplined Agile Leadership course. This is available in the Miroverse. A little bit later in our discussion, I'll show some of the templates that I've, Miro board templates that are now available in the Miroverse. But part of what the discussion with executives typically is that we need to understand, what are you trying to do? What are you trying to do from a higher level than team agile perspective? Again, is it that we're really struggling with being able to get anything started and released in an adequate time frame, which means you don't have enterprise agility, right? You're not able to pivot quickly. You're not able to take a look at, well, yes, we've got capacity that'll be freeing up in sort of the nearer term that we could do something else. So it's taking a look at those larger things. And then from that, out of this large knowledge base of Disciplined Agile, picking these strategies, the practices, the techniques that would then potentially support being able to make progress there. So that's some of what we do from let me get back to the end-to-end flow perspective.